Radio Network headquarters. It's your morning addiction.
Fraud is exactly what happens when you've got a government that is not fighting for the American people.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
This is by far the most difficult moment I've had as an elected official.
The Zimmer News Team.
I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy. They've been saying, what's going on with Cuba?
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
You said yesterday you're about an hour away from making a decision. Where does that stand today? Have you heard anything from them?
Right on the borderline, believe me. If we don't get the right answers, it goes very quickly. We're all ready to go. We have to get the right answers.
That's President Trump on the tarmac yesterday saying he's right on the borderline as they have reportedly given another set of conditions to and proposal to Iran. And waiting for answers. He continues to play this waiting game, this patience game. In other big news this morning on Wake Up Missouri, Stephanie, big news from the Gov yesterday.
It's a historic day. It's a $15 billion investment at one time. And some of the Google team asked me, do you think that's right? I said, well, if you don't believe it, just Google it, and you'll find out.
So the governor's saying just Google it. Big data center commitment through Google, right? $15 billion in Montgomery County and New Florence. Pretty interesting. I think that came out of nowhere. I wasn't aware that was out there. Were you? I hadn't really heard
It did not come out of nowhere, no.
I didn't hear about it.
Well, 2 years ago, the legislature passed SB 4. It required the utility companies essentially to develop tariffs for large load customers to kind of create a structure, not only to make sure they're paying their own way, right? But to create a structure. And that's what these large customers are looking for, right? They want to know what to expect if we're going to come into a state. What's that rate going to look like? What am I going to be responsible for? And so the state, the companies, I think Liberty down in Southwest Missouri is actually about, I think, to file their large load tariff. But Evergy on the west side of the state, Ameren on the east side of the state went into the Public Service Commission in the last year as a result of SB 4, filed what essentially large load tariffs. Many of the usual parties participated. Some of the large customers participated. They, when the PSC reviewed those filings and kind of approved a framework for large load tariffs, and the companies during the process said, yeah, the utility companies said we have crazy demand coming in, right? Like we've got people asking all the time. Missouri's a great place. We've got good workforce. You know, these centers often require thousands of construction jobs. We have land, those kinds of things. And so, what we were hearing from the utility companies themselves was we've got a lot of interest in Missouri. So it did not come out of nowhere. These projects were something that a lot of folks have been working on for a long time.
There was a lot of questions, too. I know there was a kind of an organized opposition up that way in the New Florence area, and people were concerned as much as anything, not so much about electric rates, but about water consumption, weren't they? They were, and I would direct you actually to Reason Magazine has a great piece out, and I gotta get the actual data out, but if you go to Reason, they've got a chart out that said the almond industry. The almond industry uses California's almond farms consume 4.2 billion gallons of water per day. That's 4.2 billion gallons. Data centers consume just 46 million gallons per day. So, folks they're looking for a way to kind of spark debate over data centers. But if you're talking almond farms or golf courses, data centers use a de minimis amount of water compared to these other types of things that no one's protesting and no one's raising concerns about water. And so a lot of what you see online can be easily debunked by facts. It's kind of interesting to watch how that's becoming. Well, the Callaway plant's been there since the 80s, but boy, oh boy, that's becoming quite the energy corridor from New Florence to Reform with Ameren's 1,000-acre solar farm and all that. So and that you bring up an interesting point as well, John, because a lot of folks after this Reason article and some of these announcements and the debates kind of sparking,
a lot of the folks are saying, data centers are the new argument we had on nuclear many years ago. And here, what we're finding, now sitting here today, everyone's like, oh my gosh, all that talk about nuclear, and we should have done it back then because now we're behind. And what we've learned is it would have been a good investment. Now, I think the governor set up this new nuclear task force. We've talked to DNR director Kurt Schaefer about it. But what we know is you can't just open a nuclear plant, so we're behind, right? And so folks are saying this whole debate is kind of like the nuclear debate we had before, and we messed up then, and we shouldn't mess up now.
Well, so where does the increased production of electricity come from? I understand there's a mechanism to pay for it, but is it through coal-fired? Is it through solar? Or is it wind farm? I mean, there is this. We hear about this nationally, about this insatiable demand for electricity, and so you argue, convincingly that it's being paid for. And by the way, Google's not selling their homes to pay for it, so we are the product with Google. So someone is eventually paying the tariffs to pay for that. That's a whole other upstream argument.
The data center pays an electric bill.
No. I understand that. But if the data center, if I'm a business owner and I pay the electric bill and I sell widgets, part of my cost of widgets to the consumer is paying for the electric bill.
For your electric. For the stuff you're using. That's the whole premise.
No, when I buy a widget,
then you're paying for the...
It's folded into that.
It's paying for the electric that the widget maker pays to power his widget plant.
No,
That's how the world works.
I understand that, but the cost of producing the widget includes the electric cost. And so if there's a tariff being charged, that means the cost of production of the widget has to be paid for by someone. The CEO is not absorbing that by selling their Lamborghini.
Okay, we're going to go back to Google. We're going to go back to
you buy a lot from Google. You pay for it because you're the product.
And we're going to never paid a bill to Google.
Okay, hold on. We're going to go back to utility rate making basics. And when we talk about tariffs, what they are is they are different. We're not talking about like Trump tariffs. We're talking about different frameworks for charging different people different things. And so what the utility company comes in and does is there are what they call different rate classes, and their tariff is the entire thing. But you've got the residential rate class, you've got usually some sort of small commercial rate class, usually you have some sort of large commercial rate class, you usually and then you usually have some sort of industrial rate class, and now you have added a different one for super hyperscale users. And what we have an entire staff sitting in Jefferson City that produce, and experts from the outside that come in and they say, what is the class cost of service study? And they produce these very detailed, they've got engineers, accountants, auditors, all of these people, and they try to figure out what is every separate class, what are they costing the system, right? And so as a residential class, how much is it costing the utility to provide the service to the residential class? Then they try to design rates to make sure that whatever that pressure is from the residential class on the system, that the rates they pay are recovering those costs. Same for industrial class. They break that out and they say, okay, we have an almond farm or whatever it might be. For example, in Missouri, one of the large water users is, I think, Triumph Foods, right? Like, you think about, we've got Nucor and Sedalia. We used to have Noranda in the Boot Heel. These people are using more electric, but they are separately broken out from the residential customers to decide what kind of pressures are they putting on the system such that we can design their rates specific to that class of customers to recover whatever pressure, whatever costs they're costing the system on them. That's what we fight about typically at the PSC.
Yeah, I understand
so
that.
I'm not
arguing that. I'm not arguing that at all.
You're saying as a resident, you're paying for data centers.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said if you're a customer of Google, and I am, because I'm a small business person, you
were talking about widgets. Google doesn't make widgets.
It doesn't matter, but they sell advertising. They sell domains. I have a domain, bodyofhealth.com, and I pay for that, my email address, and so I pay for that. You pay for certain Google services. I'm just simply asking, Google's not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're making money off this, a for-profit enterprise, right?
Just like
course.
Chick-fil-A.
I'm just
when you
asking,
buy your Chick-fil-A sandwich,
no
the
problem.
price of them making sure the lights turn on and the fryers
Did I
turn on
argue
in
that?
Chick-fil-A
Did I argue that?
is built into your sandwich.
I
You're
just
somehow penalizing data centers for regular cost of business. When I show up to your business and I'm paying for healthcare, I'm paying to make sure that all of your equipment is powered and that your lights turn on. That's built into your overhead at your business. That's every business in the history of time. Data center, Chick-fil-A, healthcare, law firm.
So the government
whatever.
years ago demanded that I have an electronic medical record and I have to pay a DEA fee for the pleasure of writing controlled substances, and that someone's got to pay for that. If suddenly the government said you now have to pay an increased rate because of your licensure, we're going to demand you do this or X or Y, which happened, someone's got to pay for that. I'm just asking, is there any indication from Google that these tariffs and whatever they are, whatever increased cost.
The tariff is just the rate that is paid. It's not like a Trump tariff.
Yeah. So do they get a volume discount or is it a surcharge?
It's a different rate structure designed again to.
That doesn't answer my question. Is it a surcharge because they're using more and there's a need to increase capacity, which means building more coal-fired plants, nuclear plants, some kind of plant, buying more? Or is there a surcharge, or because they use more megawatts, do they get a discount per megawatt?
It's not that simple. There are tons of different factors that go into rates, and it cannot be broken down just like that. What I'm telling you is that the rates are supposed to be designed to recover your costs. So
Agreed.
if you're putting more pressure on the system, you might be paying technically. You might be in the past. Let's go back to the past, right? Like if we were just talking about Noranda, if we go back to that, they were using way more electric than a lot of people. They were technically paying less per megawatt because they were using so much, but it was still a rate designed to, they were paying in nominal dollars way more than anyone else. And it was still a rate that covered what we call their fixed costs, right? For the system and also their variable costs.
But in Colombia, if you sprinkle your lawn with water and you use more, you pay more.
Well, so I'm not saying the city's really good at rate design.
I'm just wondering if it's similar, if you pay more because you're using more, if you pay more.
Those are called inclining block rates, and they're becoming more and more popular, especially amongst residential customers. Again, you have to look at the rates oftentimes separately amongst classes. Inclining block rates have become very popular, especially amongst blue cities. But it is the topic of discussion.
I think it's a good deal. I'm not saying that. I just wonder how ultimately is the extra, increase in capacity. And we didn't answer the question, where is it? Are they going to pop up a new plant?
Go look at the PSC website. They're approving new, what they call certificate of convenience and necessity regularly, and those are a lot of new projects coming online, and it's a whole combination of different things.
There you go.
You can go look at their website.
It's all figured out. What could go wrong?
It's not all figured out.
It's all figured out.
But it is all regulated.
What could go wrong? Okay, there's Stephanie. She knows a lot about that, as you can tell, so we'll trust but verify when it comes to big biz. That's at least my shtick on this matter. And we'll be back with the Daily DC Rundown. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up
Yes, the now 94-year-old Castro alleges that when he served as Cuba's defense minister, he authorized the use of deadly force on 2 small planes operated by Miami-based exiles who had been dropping pro-democracy leaflets over Havana.
Wow. Castro back in the news. Here's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown.
How old did they say he was? 94?
Yeah, he's ancient.
This is, again, over the 1996 shoot-down of 2 civilian planes operated by Brothers to the Rescue. 4 people were killed, including 3 Americans. The Justice Department says Castro played a role in ordering the attack, and acting AG Todd Blanche warned Castro could appear in the U.S. by his own will or by another way. That we kind of had heard rumors about that, but yesterday it was officially announced. Trump is now attacking the Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough after she ruled Republicans could not include the ballroom funding in the reconciliation bill. We never really heard about the parliamentarian until a few years ago, where I think she made a similar decision about a reconciliation bill. Senator Tommy Tuberville wants her fired, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune is defending her, respecting her authority to make these determinations. We are also seeing this victim fund has been a hot topic of debate. Officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th filed suit against Trump's new anti-weaponization compensation fund. Of course, this is the fund that would compensate people claiming they were politically targeted by the Biden administration. This is in relation to what the IRS Trump lawsuit. And so that will be back in the courts. We are also seeing Trump's, let's talk about NVIDIA. John announced, I think it was, a week ago, and it was when Jennifer was on, and we found out that NVIDIA is going to be allowed to sell their chips to China, right?
Yep, their H200s.
And yesterday, they reported their earnings, which everyone was watching. They reported $81.62 billion in quarterly revenue, beating expectations of about $79 billion. Jensen Huang, the CEO, said demand has gone parabolic and declared agentic AI has arrived. So we'll be doing the morning bell at 8:25 and following how those NVIDIA earnings are reflecting in the markets. We also are getting more information about Trump's approval ratings. Apparently, they have fallen to the lowest levels of his second term, with voter frustration about the war and about rising gas prices. Decision Desk HQ average now shows Trump below 40%, with his disapproval rating nearing 58%. That's interesting given the latest results in the elections. Gas prices now top $4 per gallon in all 50 states.
And we're going to be talking to Tanya J. Powers at 7:08 about the driving season and what the roads are going to look like. Later on, Steve Bucci on Iran, and we're going to ask about Ukraine as well. We haven't heard much about that, so we'll cover some of the national security issues then. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the DoorDash debate. No. To Wake Up Missouri. Later on, we're going to check out what's going on the roads over the weekend. Are you planning on making a long trip, maybe shortening the trip with the prices of gas, or is it just a temporary blip? We'll get through it. Not modifying plans. We'll see what's happening nationally with Tanya Powers at 7:08. 8:08, Steve Bucci joins us. You know, Ukraine's been attacking Moscow. We haven't heard much about it, but I read about that the other day. I want to see what's going on there and ask him the big question, is the president going to pull the trigger very soon or not? What does he think? So that comes at 8:08 as well. Now, Stephanie, you found an interesting debate yesterday that was blowing up your Twitter feed. And we've talked about it before. That is the cost of living, the cost of housing, the cost of eating, the cost of everything. And we talk about that a lot. You reported yesterday that they may raise rates when the Fed next meets because of inflation fears, right? So you hear that refuels the argument about, especially from young people. Drake, you weigh in on this a lot. A lot of our younger listeners are saying, hey, it's not the same as it was when you boomers and Gen Xers were around. Here's what Kevin O'Leary said, though, about Gen Zers whining about their cost of living.
Can't stand it when I see kids that are making $70 grand a year spending $28 for lunch. I mean, that's just stupid. It's just, think about that in the context of that being put into an index and making 8 to 10% a year for the next 50 years.
Well, maybe people are making a choice that since I can't afford a house, that's just out of reach. I might as well enjoy the moment, have my experiences socially with friends, and that seems to be where a lot of folks are putting their money when in the younger generations.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying you could have, if you invested that like $7,000 a year, you would have like $40,000 after, I think they said 4 years. But they're saying, lunch costs so much. And the chart that really sparked it was this chart just showing the differences between the different generations and how much they're spending on DoorDash. And Gen Z is spending very little, just 32% of their spending on grocery. They're spending 22% on delivery fees. Whereas when we look at like baby boomers, we've got 4% on delivery fees, 62% on groceries. And so folks have been it's all over Twitter. People have been posting their whatever they pack for their lunch or their dinner saying, hey, look, here's a beautiful lunch or a beautiful dinner that total cost $5.32 or whatever. You don't have to do it this way. And so it's really, and so I think Gen Z's rightfully taking some hate. They expect to come out of school, live this fancy life, go eat $30, a $30 lunch every day. And then they're saying, but oh my gosh, it's too expensive. I can't buy a house. You know how you buy a house? You brown bag it. And so I posted, I am a digital hoarder personally, and I've had a Dropbox since I was 20, and I keep everything. And if you ask me what I bought for lunch in 2017, I could tell you exactly, because every transaction in the last 15 years is categorized and in Excel spreadsheets. And so so when I was paying off my student loans, we bought a house pretty early, only in Jefferson City. The rent at the time was very high, and you could basically pay a mortgage on a small house for the same price. So we decided that was in our interest. And obviously housing and lending more rates were better back then. But our budget for many years, we did $30 a month for each of us for lunch. Not $28 a day, $30 a month, which meant I could run down the street to Tolson's and get like a hot dog one day. I could probably get like a couple of tacos one day from Taco Bell, and maybe I could get like the $10 order out Chinese food. If I used my $30 right, I could usually get 3 lunches out a month.
Okay. Anybody's worked in the hospitality industry, and for some of us, it's been a long time ago. But generally, if you're talking about fast food places and bars, it's the Gen Z and millennial crowd are pretty much frequents those. But if you're working, in upscale, fine dining and all, you get an older demographic in there, and I don't think that's just a conservative mid-Missouri thing. I think that's about everywhere, and it's one of those deals that doesn't really change.
And even like older folks, this guy says, okay, this is very much an everyone deserves a pony thing. I'm a mid-career attorney. I can definitely afford to eat lunch at a restaurant every day in the sense that I have that much money in my bank account, but I don't because that's wildly irresponsible. And I would have to agree. My point was, now I can, and I probably, the people in downtown are going to tattle on me because I oftentimes do eat lunch out and I am probably paying $20 a day. But I can do that now because I went for years with a $30 a month lunch budget. And I think it makes you appreciate the things like working hard for something, right? Like all of those years of, scraping by and having the conversation, oh my gosh, you spent $32 this month on lunch and you are only supposed to spend $30, makes me appreciate, it's not lost on me now that I can have a nice dinner or that I can travel or that I can do this because I went through a lot of years of sacrifice. And if you want nice things, guess what? It takes hard work and sacrifice. If you want a house, it's not unfair if you're door dashing all the time and eating $30 a lunch, $30 lunches every day, that you can't afford a house. That's poor decision making. Sorry.
If you look at this graph, assuming it's accurate.
Sorry, not sorry.
If you look at this graph and assuming it's accurate on how each generation spends on its total food intake, and just as you read over the generations, starting with Gen Z on the left, to the pre-baby boomers, the interwar generation. Not many of those left anymore. But the restaurant component fraction is 46% Gen Z, gradually decreasing over millennials to Gen X, 38%, 34%. About a third of the food is spent on restaurants for baby boomers, and 29% interwar. When you look at the delivery, 22%, almost a quarter of food for the Gen Zers is delivery service, and 15% millennials, 9%, 4% baby boomers. I loathe delivery. I absolutely loathe food delivery. I don't know what it is. Why would I pay for delivery of food?
It's so expensive. And like this person is saying, I work with 2 Zoomers on my team. They show up with Culver's, order Subway from Uber Eats, DoorDash, and then they get a pizza from the restaurant next door on their way home. They spend $50 a day feeding themselves on an 8-hour shift. And that's how I always looked at it. I worked at Dillard's. I think my hourly pay was $12. And so in my, now I bill by the hour. So I think about this a lot. Okay, do I want to, 2 of my hours of work day, I'm showing up to work 2 hours just to pay for my own food? Yeah. No way. Like that just seems ridiculous.
At the office, we have healthy little snack packs of, it's basically some nuts and a couple raisins and a little ginger or something. It's probiotic stuff for patients to snack on when they're there. And Helene brings most days, 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10 days, she buys Healthy Choice meals. She brings 2 of those.
I ate what we eat. Many of those.
That's what we eat for lunch. It's like $2.50 at Walmart. You can buy a Healthy Choice. I snack on a little pack, and I drink tea all day, and it's fine. Once in a while, if we get a break or someone cancels, we'll go down and we'll grab what do they call it, a bingo box or something at the hibachi?
Bento box?
Yeah, bento box, a bingo box. Yeah, Okay, big deal. We spend $14 once a month, but we find that, I don't know, it satisfies us. I don't feel like I'm wasting money, and I don't know. That's just a different culture I grew up in. Drake?
Okay. I hate this because I'm not representing Gen Z at all. I don't like delivery. But I do have to say, the delivery fee isn't that much anymore. It used to be a lot more, and I DoorDashed like a month or 2 ago some cashews into the studio. It was not that much.
You DoorDashed cashews?
Yes, Stephanie. I DoorDashed cashews.
Oh, man, that's
one of
such
the
an interesting
laziest
priorities.
things I've ever heard
It's just a difference in priorities. Is that, are you aware of the reality of, like Kevin O'Leary said, if you just put away a little bit each month, how it grows with compounding of interest?
You understand I don't go anywhere without snacks, and I have pistachio packs in my purse.
Pistachios are different than cashews.
You could have just asked me, but you paid like twice what you would normally pay. No, I didn't though.
That's the thing.
Oh my gosh!
I think the delivery fee was maybe $3, maybe. I
think it's an IQ test.
It's okay, whatever. I'll you know what? I'm going to do some science here. I'm going to DoorDash something, and I'm going to show you guys the receipt and show you that it's not that much.
Do it. That's what I'm telling you.
I think I'm going to do it, Stephanie. I think I'm going to do it.
Oh, my gosh.
John, what do you want? Any recommendations?
Reload on the cashews. Sounds good to me.
Okay, we're going cashews.
See, and Randy has a good budgeting advice for everybody that you don't have to DoorDash if you just eat all the leftovers in the break room.
Yeah,
it's true.
I don't eat all of them. I take my fair sampling.
Yes, sample.
Sampling.
He only eats the furry leftovers in the break room fridge.
Well, it's an alternative to sourdough.
That's penicillin, basically, right, Randy?
People get the wrong impression. I once in a while I graze. If someone's brought in some cinnamon rolls, I'll take a knife and cut out an eighth of a cinnamon roll. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
You're the only guy who can polish off the habanero cheese balls. That's for sure.
I tried that. Yeah, I like that. I like it spicy like that. Give me a little kick to that. So I don't know. What do you just? I think it's just a generational difference. And again, I'm wondering if the younger generation is just resigned to the fact I am not going to be able to afford a home. I'm going to spend the money that I would have done on a home down payment, on a mortgage and interest, and principal and interest. I'm just I'm going to enjoy my life and day by day and enjoy the social experience of eating out or whatever. Maybe that's what it is. Is this a resignation thing? Or is it a naivete, not realizing that, man,
it's a low IQ thing. Like, it's just pure math. It's pure math. Like, it's a.
And that was Stephanie Bell, ladies and gentlemen.
It's an instant gratification. I want my Chipotle today, and then they point the finger at everyone else for why they can't buy a house. Like, most of us lived through a time where we ate a lot of tuna fish, or a lot of leftovers, or a lot of turkey sandwiches.
Boxed mac and cheese.
Oh man, I was buying my 10th hammer of the year at I have to say it was at Menards the other day on my way up to the farm, and they had these little foil packages of tuna, Starkist tuna with a little lemon in it, and you could like for nothing. I just keep those laying around the office. Just take a little plastic fork and once in a while eat that.
Good protein.
You can do it economically if you want to. Take your water bottle and fill it up at home rather than spend $4 for a bottle of water at the C-store, right? I mean, there's ways to do that. Put that money into a savings account. Before you know it, you'll have money for a down payment, maybe. All right, when we come back, a lot of questions about Hanta and Ebola. We will put your mind at ease. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
John, I know you were reporting. I've heard, Stephanie, maybe you've heard, a lot of people are questioning with the recent cruise ship hantavirus outbreak. People still under quarantine, some still sick in Nebraska and others, a couple in England. And now with reports of another Ebola outbreak in Africa, I mean, people are worried. I think everyone's a little sunburnt after the COVID experience, even though you can talk about the fits and starts and the political, stuff that happened and some of the mistakes from the scientific community. But nonetheless, it was a serious epidemic and it killed a lot of people. And so therefore, people, I think, have a heightened awareness of the potential threats of these epidemics that can turn into pandemics, or at least that's the worry. Well, don't worry. Don't fret. These are very different viruses. Hantavirus, of course, exists in the rodent population. 95% of the Hanta outbreak cases have been west of the Mississippi. And you'll say, but Randy, we're west of the Mississippi. We're actually, the vast majority occur in that Four Corners region of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah. So it tends to happen more in arid and rural areas. For instance, it's postulated that the guy who contracted it initially, the index case on that cruise ship, was messing around in a landfill looking for exotic birds, rare birds. It was a bird watching trip.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Yeah. So watch out.
Wash your hands.
So for everyone listening, all of our Wake Up family, I think that while there is still some small risk, that risk exists when either the urine or the feces of rodents gets aerosolized. Now, I think about our little, we make a joke about our, quote, Fort Bragg. It's a put together thing with masonite and siding up on some telephone poles at the farm, B-R-A-G, Bragg, our deer hunting stand. And boy, I mean, the mice have just taken it over. You go in there and it's ode to mice. And I'm thinking, maybe, and the truth is, we're going to replace that puppy, and when we do, and I would recommend this for you, if you're clearing out an area where you know there's a mouse infestation, probably not a bad idea to put on an N95 kind of a mask and wear it if you want to be extra cautious. But even if you don't, the number of cases is just incredibly, incredibly small. The actual risk is incredibly small. From 1993 to 2022. There have only been 860 lab-confirmed cases across the entire United States, right? So you figure that out. That's your risk of getting that. And how many people aren't working in their barn, working in the man cave, hunting in the blind, and you're around that stuff all the time. So I think, practically speaking, I would not get too up in arms about that. But anytime you develop a severe respiratory infection, it's good to be evaluated and then mention that kind of a historical exposure to the doc. Now, on Ebola, entirely different virus. It's not aerosolized. It takes direct human, blood type exposure, right? You've got to have that kind of direct exposure. So I don't think you need to worry about that. And they've done a great job since the 20 teens, when these big outbreaks occurred, and then again in the early 2020s. They do a great job of screening people coming from Africa. You've got to have intimate contact with blood or, lymph fluid or this and that. So I just don't see this being a real threat to Missourians listening to the program.
How come we always start talking about outbreaks right before an election?
Because the government's trying to... Actually, you know what? This is a big conspiracy.
Just asking questions.
Hantavirus is something that Trump is going to use to fearmonger the people to shut down the border completely. No immigration.
You got to have blood or body fluid contact to get Ebola. And the good news is there's an Ebola vaccine, and there are monoclonal antibodies that work very effectively. So it's a different landscape now. Don't worry. Be happy. Hakuna Matata. Enjoy your DoorDash delivered pizza. All is well. And then when we come back, we'll discuss with Tanya J. Powers what the roads are going to look like over the weekend. Stay tuned.
government that is not fighting for the American people.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
This is by far the most difficult moment I've had as an elected official.
The Zimmer News Team.
I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy. They've been saying, what's going on with Cuba?
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Hey, well, good to be back with you. Thanks for being here on Wake Up Missouri. Stephanie's there, and Stephanie, you're acting like it's chilly. You have your windbreaker on there.
Cold? The weather's weird.
Yeah, it is cold.
Week.
It's colder, then it's hotter. Well, but it's going to be a little nicer most of the weekend, at least in Missouri, most of Missouri, and around the country. We hope folks will be getting out and commemorating their Memorial Day tributes appropriately. Tanya J. Powers joins us now. She's, of course, with Fox News Radio. And how you doing, Tanya? Are you going to be traveling? Are you going to be hitting the roads, cruising around?
I'm going to be staying put in the city this Memorial Day weekend. I'm working on Monday, so it is easier for me just to hang out here, and I get to. There's never a dull moment of stuff. There's lots of stuff planned for the weekend here, so it's not like we're going to be bored.
So what are the tea leaves telling you? What are the projections as far as people's travel plans with the price of gas at the pump just skyrocketing? Well, still, maybe it's not. It's moderated a little bit, I guess, over the last week, but is that going to change things?
Yeah, it will. According to the AAA folks, they're the ones who really, look at the numbers on all of this and always give us our travel forecast. And they said last year there was about a little over 44 million of us that traveled for Memorial Day weekend. It was a record. This year we're going to top that, but not by much. It's only going to be about 45 million that expected to travel at least 50 miles from home this weekend for the travel period that starts today and ends Monday. 39 million of us are expected to drive. About 3.7 million will fly. About 2 million, a little more than that, will travel by other modes like bus, train, cruise. As far as how that's changing things, you mentioned the gas prices, of course, the lingering inflation. The AAA folks say it may cause some of us to shorten trips, even though there's more of us going. We may not go for as long. We may delay plans. We may stay closer to home, change up the destination so you're not driving nearly as far. The AAA folks also said as of yesterday that all 50 states had gas prices of $4 and above. In some states, I think 6 or 7 of them, it was $5 and above. I believe where you are, it's $4.20 today for the average gallon of regular gas. A year ago, that number was $2.87. Yeah.
Boy, you had to remind us, huh?
I did. And here's more bad news. Diesel, Lord love you if you're driving a diesel vehicle, $5.28 a gallon. A year ago, that was $3.21.
Well, thank you for being with us, Tanya. Hope to talk to you again. No, I drive a big diesel, and man, it's killing me. It's killing me.
It is. It's gotten pretty rough. The most congested days, by the way, if you are traveling, planning to do a little getaway or go somewhere, the worst days to drive are today and tomorrow, especially in the evening or afternoon. And on Monday afternoon. So, if you're leaving, go tomorrow morning, go Saturday morning, some other time other than, tomorrow or today, like after 3.
It's a struggle, especially like for families. We try to road trip a lot in the summer. And I think we're talking about cutting a few things short. I think seeing what friends we have to can we stay with you, right? Cut down on your lodging costs. Has the hospitality hotel industry, have they been saying anything about, people mixing up their travel plans?
I haven't seen anything yet, but that is a really good point because, when you are trying to, at least still be able to do something, with your family, especially if you've planned for this. Everybody's excited. The kids are thrilled. You've been, looking at your destination going, okay, here's where we're going to go. And then all of a sudden you got higher gas prices. That can definitely put a monkey wrench in things. And you are looking at other ways. I will be interested to see after Memorial Day weekend what the hospitality industry looks like. This summer is going to be a big one for travel because you've got not only the obvious holidays, we've also got the 250th, anniversary of the country. There's going to be a lot of stuff around 4th of July. People may be traveling to go do things for that. The World Cup is coming to the U.S. this year. People are going to be traveling to different cities to go see some of those games, not just, like here where we are. We're obviously going to have a lot of people come here as we do every summer. But there's going to be people who are going to travel for that.
You got to wonder, is this the nail in the coffin for the RV industry? I know during COVID, a lot of people did RVs, and then there for a while I saw a lot of used RVs on Facebook Marketplace, and that would have been a good way to save on lodging, except gas prices are so high that it would be not a great
I don't know how that
investment
works out now when you're getting 5 miles to the gallon, whatever those things get. That's Tanya J. Powers joining us and talking about the upcoming travel weekend and beyond into the summer from Fox News Radio. She joins us on Wake Up Missouri.
Tanya, I saw a Fox piece the other day when you guys were talking about attendance at the theme parks, and they said with the gas prices really not affecting the theme parks, but they said the more regional ones closer to home are actually seeing increased numbers.
I don't doubt that at all. Especially if you've priced a trip to Disney or Universal or any of the really, really big ones, you're already planning to make that. That's a big trip to start with. I can see exactly where if you don't have to drive as far and there is a regional theme park that you could go to and still be able to take the family and have a day or two of fun and activity and make a lot of memories. Why not?
Yeah, those season passes to Silver Dollar City are looking like a real good investment here in Missouri. What are they saying? You mentioned the World Cup, and Kansas City is going to be a huge hot spot for travel, so we're expecting increased travel here in Missouri for that. What about with the America 250 celebration? Are you hearing anything about folks increased travel over the summer around the 4th of July holiday?
There's got to be things that are going to be coming out soon about that, I would imagine, because if they haven't already. But I know here there are no shortage of things that New York City is already planning to do. We're going to have, this year is the first time that we're going to have Macy's fireworks in 2 different places this year. And that may not sound like a lot, but the crowds that draws over on the east side of Manhattan and the Brooklyn area every year is pretty huge. This year they're going to have one on the other side where, by the Hudson River, and they're planning, a much bigger celebration for that. There's a lot of different things that are going to be happening here because of the America 250 stuff. I would imagine across the country there's going to be, events planned at different parts of the year because, it's a celebration of the whole country, not just Washington or New York or whatever.
Tanya J. Powers joins us from Fox News Radio. An interesting angle I've thought about on this story about the roads and the gas stations and people pulling up to the pumps. I think it's become customary for a lot of folks to, while the car's getting to fill up, you may use the bathroom, you grab a tea or a soda or a energy drink and maybe a snack. I'm wondering what the C-store owners are going to report. I thought the other day, I hadn't eaten all day. I had to fill up, so I did that. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get a slice of pizza and a soft drink. And you know what? I had half a bottle of semi-warm soft drink in my car, and I thought, I'm just going to buy the pizza. I saved a couple bucks. Now, I could have afforded it, but emotionally, I'm like, man, I'm paying so much for gas. Do you think it's going to affect C-store sales with the gas prices the way they are? I wonder.
I don't know. It might. I mean, I think it sort of depends. I mean, if you're road tripping, like you mentioned earlier, you're probably planning way ahead, especially if you've got a family or you got little kids. Snacks are imperative for non-cranky people in a car for hours and hours. A lot of that you're probably buying. You're probably going to Sam's, or Costco or whatever the week before and going, all right, here's our snack plan. This is what we're going to do, and a lot of people will buy that ahead of time before they even leave. So there may be a shift in sales for those kind of stores. People may not be buying as many, oh, hey, I see this at the register. Let me just grab that, on the way out kind of stuff.
Yeah, Randy brings up a good point, and I've got a family of 5, so one trip into the gas station, and I'm down $30. So, I mean, we even just go on 2-hour road trips, and we never leave without a cooler. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. The allure of that roller grill and the cheesy brat are like the sirens. I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to avoid those. Well,
listen, I feel you because I miss the days when I did live in the South and I could just wander into a whatever, gas station, convenience store, and the potato wedges.
Oh, yeah.
Top notch. I miss those. I miss those a lot, I'm going to tell you.
Well, I'm thankful you're going to be working on Monday so we can keep up on everything happening in the news. I'm sorry for you have to work on Monday, but maybe they'll give you a makeup day somewhere along the line.
That's okay. I actually enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I get to talk to a lot of cool people when I go.
And we can tell when we listen to you both when you join us here and on your regular reports. Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
Right. Interesting. I think it is going to have a lot of these gas prices have more spin-off effects as you start to think about it. I mean, it just really changes your mindset as you're planning. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, if you've just filled up for over $100 on your gas tank, that bag of spicy Doritos at the counter might just sit there.
I'm not kidding you. Helene had I know we were on a trip somewhere, and she had a half a bottle of Sunkist, diet stuff there. And I'm thinking, it's sort of cool out today. It was 58 degrees. I'm like, I could get by with that. I don't need to buy a fresh soft drink.
Are we shocked? Randy's raccoon tendencies take over again. Just dumpster diving.
I'm sorry.
Did it have a cap on it, or was it half full and half?
No, it had a little fizz left in it. All's good. It was only a day old.
If you've got a leftover hot soda that you're not going to drink, we know someone who will drink it.
One of our callers said that we were denigrating young people, and that we should have a blue collar person. Mark, sometime I'll tell you my story. If you don't know my story coming up in the blue collar world of sorts, we'll talk sometime. So I get it. Maybe that's those old habits that came back.
I told Mark we could agree. He said, hey, there are young people out there who are really struggling.
Right,
and I think we can agree. I mean, and I've said this before. I mean, it is tougher now than it was when I was getting out of school. There were, between interest rates, rent prices, all of those things. I think that's a fact.
But it's sort of like we had a really good discussion about AI and data centers and Google bringing one into New Florence, and people online are both like, yeah, go for it. Others are saying, do you know the specifics of the property tax breaks and everything? Okay, we've had those discussions. There's cognitive dissonance. We all love our AI now, right? Who doesn't use it every time you Google? But I don't know. Is it a NIMBY thing? I don't want, not so much AI on that. Well, I think there's cognitive dissonance on the part of young people that have to have their daily $5 coffee, but then wonder why they can't afford things, right? That's cognitive dissonance.
It's a little rich that we're asking people about the new data center with a graphic on our Facebook page that was created using AI.
Why'd you gotta out me like that,
but
Stephanie?
Feel free to jump on to Wake Up Missouri and weigh in on the debate on Facebook.
All right, when we come back, we'll mix it up some more. Oh, Ahmad Hardy from Mizzou has a little something to say about his return.
It's Wake Up
Hey everyone, I'm back in Columbia. Starting the road to my rehab. I want to thank everybody for all the support and all of y'all prayers. Thank everybody for everything, and I'm back to the road to success. Hey everyone.
Well, that's Ahmad Hardy saying he's back on the road to success, starting his rehab after he was shot in an incident in Mississippi last week. We still don't know what his injury was. I'm just, from a medical perspective, I'm just curious as all get out. Do we know, John?
No, they really haven't elaborated other than they said he was shot in his, upper thigh, I think, was about all they really released. And like you mentioned, they never talked about a caliber of weapon involved. And it seems though he was inside a car when he was hit by the bullet.
That's what they reported, yeah.
And we've also seen some unconfirmed reports that said the 3 guys taken into custody were his former high school football teammates.
Oh, really?
Well, we haven't confirmed that.
Who knows, yeah. But have there been charges? I don't think there have been charges yet. They had them in custody. Well, by now they probably have either had to release them or charge them one way or another.
Yeah.
Well, one way or another, it's going to be a great story. Hopefully with a great outcome, but at least it'll be an interesting story to see how he comes back, because he is one of the leading rushers in all of college football last year, and we'll have to see what happens. Is this last year? Yeah. Is this Ahmad Hardy's last year? Is he a senior?
No, he's a junior now.
Oh, he's a junior. Okay, yeah. Why did I think he was a senior? Well, but depending on the year he has, he could jump into the right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he was a transfer from, where was it, Louisiana Monroe or something.
Yeah, UL Monroe.
That's why we love that transfer portal when it works in our favor.
And the cops down there in their investigation have said they believe he was in the car leaving the scene of the concert and still believe he was an innocent bystander.
Yeah.
Just got hit by a stray bullet.
My God. That's like in that mosque shooting the other day, which is an interesting story in itself. I mean, apparently these 2 teenagers were trans, or not trans, but, well, one of them was trans or gay or whatever, but they were lovers. I don't know. I don't get it. But there was a landscaper who had a helmet on, and they reported that a bullet ricocheted off his helmet. I mean, because they fled the scene of the shooting, and I guess we're still shooting randomly around.
Yes, there was some video of that.
And can you imagine? You talk about getting back the faith if you'd lost the faith, if something like that happens to you, huh? I mean, you're planting someone's bushes or throwing some mulch down around the landscaping, and all of a sudden it's like, what was that? And if it were not for, who wears a helmet when they're landscaping?
That's right. Well, if the foreman tells you it's a hard hat work zone, you wear the hard hat if you want to get paid at the end of the week.
Yeah, well, maybe they were doing some tree trimming, right? Maybe that's what was going on. I know I wear my helmet with when I'm with the net, whatever you call it, shield in front of my eyes when I'm using the chainsaw. I don't mess around.
Just an update, there was an arrest made of a 20-year-old guy in the Ahmad Hardy case.
And any reporting on whether
I don't think they've been
high school buddies
yet. The last check we did.
Yeah, it doesn't say that he's been charged, but there was another guy who got arrested in Kentucky, I guess. But
did they ever find the second guy from the Isle of Capri and the money? I keep thinking about.
I think he's still out there.
Maybe he's in like Azerbaijan or something now. Who knows where he is?
Ask your buddies you're going to Mexico. Maybe they'll spot him on the beach.
Oh, there you go. All right. Listen to Wake Up Missouri. Thanks for being with us. Lots going on our text line, 573-874-9390.
Has America
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. We're having some really interesting discussion. I think it reflects what's going on around taverns and kitchen tables and, the workplace. It's about, AI, its place in our daily lives, professionally, personally. It's a reality. It's everywhere. When you're Googling something, you're getting AI now. But also then the resources to provide that. Tremendous build-outs of just rows and rows and rows and rows and rows and acres of big warehoused servers and computing capacity that takes resources to cool it. Now, some are water cooled. The one going up in that Governor Keogh announced yesterday, in Montgomery County in New Florence, Google's investing, was it $15 billion? Is that right?
$15 billion.
Is going to be air cooled, we understand. That's what I read in one report. So, the only water will be, the flushing and the faucets, right?
Well, you talk about, Steph was talking earlier about the biggest consumers of fresh water in the state, and generally, we've done the math on that over the years. It's power plants, whether it's the Callaway plant, nuclear, and taking water from the Missouri, or all the natural gas-fired plants that Ameren runs that take water from the Mississippi. That's used as water. But on the other side of it, when they get done cooling things, it's in an outside loop, and it just goes back into the river eventually.
Yeah. But in the first Gallup poll, looking at these matters, this is really the first Gallup poll that has looked at AI data centers and asked a question related to that and compared them with other concerns that people have. Would you rather have your home be at risk for a Chernobyl-style catastrophe? That's a little hyperbolic, and that's the way the news reports this. Would you rather have your home near Grok? It's interesting. Gallup found that 53% of Americans oppose bringing a nuclear energy plant into their locality. What do you think the opposition to construction of an AI data center in the area is, per Gallup? 71%. So people would rather have a nuclear power plant, or they oppose it less than they oppose an AI data center in their backyard.
It's not shocking because it's something new. And I think,
exactly.
People are always a little bit hesitant with something new. But I know I think you brought it up. You brought it up this morning, but also Monday about, Virginia, the rates are going up. Well, go see NIC_Carter. He had a good thread this week, and he quotes, AI is hiking your energy bill is the most popular political talking point of 2026. He says the data doesn't support it. And he's got U.S. electric generation versus data center consumption, and shows how small the data center consumption is to the electric generation. And he said, I sorted 50 states into data center intensity quintiles. States with the highest data center energy share, that's Virginia, Texas, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, Arizona, collectively have the lowest and slowest rising mean residential energy prices.
See, now he used the word collectively, because then I pull up, this is where, there's data and there's data and there's data. I look at a CNBC report. Now, this is from November, so it's 6 months old. But it says Illinois, Ohio, and Virginia, respectively, year over year, they have 244, 193, and 666 data centers. 16, 12, and 13% year over year. That's pretty significant. Now, Texas has 400 data centers, and theirs only went up 3.8%. So it seems to matter where you're at. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason,
Well, and he says right now, and I think the utility companies have been pretty public about that. A lot, they're having the same pressures currently, because we had someone text in and they said, my electric bill went up $100 over the last year. Well, Missouri he lived in a territory that has no data centers currently. So yeah, electric prices are getting higher. And Nick on Twitter is saying they're subject to inflation just like the rest of us. So whether we're talking wire or transformers or labor or whatever else, your bill might be going up. It's not because of data centers, especially in for our texter who was texting about his specific situation in an area that
doesn't have any data centers.
Now, there's a lengthy text we got from a Montgomery County resident where this data center from Google is going to go up, and says that the data center is getting a break and will only pay $70 million instead of $220 million over the next 10 years, I guess, in taxes. Is that right? And so 30% in personal property tax. Now, I have asked, apparently there's a farmer who's running for commissioner there. I don't know. He only pays 12%. You'd pay less with property tax when you're a farmer. Yeah. He's excited about the revenue. But Montgomery County's lost a lot of small businesses and big businesses over the years. This will rejuvenate the county to be even better. So I think it's good. Look, I think overall, if you look at communities in the South when Nissan and others came into Jackson, Mississippi and other places, my gosh, those communities just blossomed. A lot of public works things happen.
Well, and I think what you see this debate, like, I mean, in the last, especially several months, just go crazy on social media. And Secretary Doug Burgum was on stage at an event here in the last week. And he said, Secretary Burgum reported that the intelligence community has traced much of the opposition to data centers to foreign influence campaigns aimed at slowing American technological progress. The strategy appears to be working. So you have to wonder, like, who's behind all of the opposition as well.
I just got a text, I stand corrected, from engineer Josh, who says as much as 70% of water, you talked about on the paraphrasing about the power plants and all, he says 70% of that's in an open evaporative system and does not go back to the river on power plants and presumably, I guess, the big data centers.
That's why it's so humid in the Mississippi River Valley and the Missouri River Valley. Now I understand. It's all that evaporative emission from the Callaway.
That's what it is. So I said, yeah, only about 30% goes back into the water source.
And you think about, I mean, we heard it from our texter there about the revenue generated by some of these build-outs. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. New data centers generate so much tax revenue for the local government that you can almost zero out property taxes entirely. And that might be a little bit hyperbolic, but for all of the hate, I think it's pretty clear amongst our wake up listeners that everyone hates property taxes, especially personal property. So, these are all trade-offs, right? And so if you don't, and what they're seeing in Virginia is, a lot of the local revenue from property taxes is coming in from some of these big projects. And is there the possibility that you can push down those numbers on individuals if you're getting all this revenue from other sources?
Do you know what I think the answer to that question, where it lies? Can the authorities now, with all this revenue coming in, can they resist the temptation to spend and spend and spend? That's the problem. The federal government has been unable to do that. When the federal income tax came into place, all of a sudden spending went crazy over the years, and it continues to go crazy. They have essentially a slush fund there, and it's just money looking for a place to be spent. If they can keep, is life in Montgomery County as it exists now that difficult? If you're honest, what do you really, 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 really need in Montgomery County that isn't there now? And add in maybe a little bit of a want. And then project that you're going to have this just tremendous influx of revenue.
Now you hope a lot of it go to the schools.
Well, or like Stephanie said, how likely is it they're going to say, you know what? I think we need to roll back those property tax rates. I don't see that happening any more than a snowball making it in hell for about a second.
You sound like House Speaker John Patterson, who said that's why that stuff didn't make it through the legislature. I think his word was a hard sell.
That's right. Once people see, some money out there, well, look at your own personal finances. As you advance through your career and your life, you never went to a fancier restaurant till you got a raise or a bonus for, a little bit. Oh, okay, now we'll go. So, when you have it, you spend it. And people that run government are human beings. I think it's our job as citizens to ask them to restrain and say, look, when you get new revenue in, why don't you reduce my personal burden? If the business is bringing in the revenue from corporate, you're going to have to build some roads. You're going to have to maintain infrastructure. I get that. But do we need some kind of elaborate, trail and park system. I don't know. That's for the citizens to decide. But if there goes your savings and now you're still paying what you were paying before, then you have to argue whether or not it's worth it to you.
Well, and I think for a lot of people, they see they're new in Missouri, right? When we talk about this, but these are like they locate in your state. They're businesses, they're community partners. And I will say there's one current hyperscaler data center in Missouri, and just last month they announced what a local partnership. They have a data center community action grant program, and last month they announced lots of grants to local organizations like Boys and Girls Club of Greater Kansas City, Girl Scouts of Kansas and Missouri, Kansas City Public Schools Education Foundation. I think there was Veterans Community Project of Kansas City. So I think for a lot of people, when you talk about data centers, you think like big tech, you just see like the big guys. But when these folks, I mean, just like any investment, like Nucor and Sedalia, like, like the local businesses we have in Columbia who sponsor your local programs. I mean, when they locate in your state, I think what we've seen is real investment from these folks in the communities that they serve.
And the skeptics would say that the skeptics need to be heard. They would say, oh, so the data centers are going to make more and more AI. They're going to dumb down the population, and then they'll own us. It will be the Borg.
Well, then you get into quality of life discussions, too. And I know at a lot of these debates we've seen that the town halls, not just over data centers, but over solar farms and all. And people are like, well, I want the data center next to us. Well, would you rather have a corporate hog farm next to you?
Yeah, right.
You start to get into that debate.
I mean, we had the debate when I sat on the board of aldermen in Ashland over the Lakeside project, and the neighbors out there didn't want a movie theater. And I'm thinking it's zoned commercial. You could have a truck stop or a 24-hour, this seems like a really good deal for you. But whether we're talking homeless shelters, whether we're talking landfills, whether we're talking commercial projects, it seems to be, it's kind of like the soup of the day. Whatever's being proposed, everyone's like, not in my backyard.
I think that's the American culture, right? We're suspicious of anything big coming in, and will our government protect us from unbridled capitalism? That's ultimately what this amounts to. All right, because I think it used to be bridled by ethics, but sometimes that doesn't exist in certain places. John, what's up when we come back?
Hey, fantasy leaguer, you drafted who? And how did that work out?
All right, well, listen up when we come back in 5 on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up.
Except for this.
A fan at the Royals-Red Sox game on Tuesday night at Kauffman Stadium spotted sitting alone way up in the upper deck with multiple signs surrounding him that read, "I stink at fantasy football." Cameras found him. The clip went viral. The internet treating this like the guy just endured some kind of humiliating public shaming. We might argue, I bet Drake would, this is about the softest fantasy football punishment out there. Guy was dressed completely normal, regular clothes, no costume, no I Love Chargers jersey, or worse, a Bo Sox jersey, no face paint. Sign didn't say anything inappropriate. It just said, "I'm bad at fantasy football," which isn't an insult because half the people who play fantasy football stink at it anyway. Ticket probably cost him, what, $11 to sit in the upper tier? A real fantasy football punishment would be spending the night at Waffle House without a gun, or maybe getting a temporary face tattoo chosen by your league's winner. This guy probably got his hot dog and his beer and enjoyed the night. The only thing missing, maybe somebody bringing him a blanket and a pillow. Counts for something, even if the punishment was about as threatening as light breeze. The real punishment for the guy that Drake would argue is he had to sit through a Royals Bo Sox game. Ouch.
That's painful. They
both stinkaroo.
Wow.
There you go.
How'd the Cards do last night? They lost, I think, didn't they?
Oh,
I think so.
I didn't watch.
Pirates shut him out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the punishments are funny. The one that's that has been going viral on the socials, at least on my feed lately, is I'm really enjoying amongst family when they go on a trip. You do like an airport T-shirt swap, and everyone buys like a ridiculous T-shirt for someone else, and you have to go to the airport bathroom and put it on and fly with. And some of them are a little obscene. Some of them are just like, put Randy in like a rainbow T-shirt.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, baby.
Some like a wolf T-shirt. Some of them say kind of obscene things, but I'm like, that is, you can just see them coming out of the bathroom like, I'm going to have to endure an entire day traveling in this ridiculous shirt. I think that's quite hilarious.
My son told me about his buddies on the fantasy football league. The loser had to do karaoke picked by the winner, and the guy had to do a melody of Celine Dion songs.
I love that.
Oh, man.
That always goes viral because they always do, it's kind of like a rookie show or whatever, right? The NFL teams, or is it the collegiate teams that do like the rookies all sing karaoke and they post it on social media? Drake, you know what I'm talking about. Some of them are actually good. Where the rookies, like, I think it's with college teams and they sing karaoke in front of their team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, I feel like that's like, the teammate making you pay for the...
Have you ever had to do a punishment?
No. So my friends are losers, and they don't like...
I'm sure they appreciate that.
I don't care. Well, they talk so big. They're like, we should do a punishment where you have to go, spend 24 hours in the Waffle, like a pretty normal one. And then it's like as soon as they're in last place, it's like, oh, well, we were actually joking. Or it's the other way around where they're like, we're not actually going to do anything. And then as soon as the league starts, the guy who knows ball, he is in last place in week one. And they're like, oh, we're going to make them, throw bottles at the cop cars or something crazy like that.
I've never participated in a fantasy football league, but of course kids enjoy like funny punishments. So whether it's eating those nasty flavored jelly beans or playing like the pie in the face game, I've had plenty of like parental punishments.
You've gotten the pie in the face?
Oh yeah, those games are fun.
Whoa, that's not.
You got to try it. Your grandkids would love it.
I don't know about this. Yeah, they probably would. I would do it for them. Back with Steve Bucci, National Security, Iran, Ukraine.
said yesterday you're about an hour away from making a decision. Where does that stand today? Have you heard anything from them?
Right on the borderline, believe me. If we don't get the right answers, it goes very quickly. We're all ready to go. We have to get the right answers. It would have to be a complete 100% good answers. And if we do, we save a lot of time, energy, and lives.
Well, that's Donald Trump yesterday, sounding like a repeating loop of if we don't get the right answers, it's going to be holy you-know-what to pay. And we asked Colonel Steve Bucci, who joins us weekly on our national security discussion here, about... Steve, welcome in, first of all. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you very much.
Certainly. Glad to be on the show.
When's he going to pull the trigger and really, deliver on these, it seems like, looping promises?
I'm getting a little impatient as well. I admire the fact that the president wants to give diplomacy as much chance as possible, that he's open to listening to the requests or advice of some of the countries that we're allied with in this effort. That seemed to have been the holdup yesterday, that he'd gotten a call from some of the leaders among the Gulf Arab states. But at a certain point, he's allowing the Iranians to, talk about them, to, say, oh, they're just weak, they can't do it. And, there's a lot of people in our own country and definitely in Western Europe who want President Trump to fail. So they're buying into it and emphasizing it. And frankly, it's working against the president, not just in the resolution of the situation in Iran, but in the coming election. He's got to move one way or the other here pretty soon, or people are going to start questioning his courage to take the action, his veracity as far as doing what he actually says he's going to do. He can't afford to do that. He's got to act, and I think, frankly, it's the only way it's going to get resolved. I don't think it's going to get resolved diplomatically. The Iranians are just not willing to do that. This is kind of a waste of time, these last efforts.
We had talked before about speculation and how true it is. No one, I guess, really knows. But it seems as though, at a minimum, the pause allows us to regroup, retool, rest, recharge, and, in many ways, it sounds like he's saying we're ready to go. He's just got to figure out when to do that. But has that been happening on the Iranian side as well? You have to ask yourself. Are they getting land munitions and materiel from China or other sources by land routes?
Not in amounts that are going to make any difference. Look, the stuff that they're getting, or they have gotten in the past from China and Russia, hasn't helped them. The stuff doesn't work that well, and we've shown that it's not that big a lift for us to overcome it when we decide to do it. But you are giving them a chance to reset. You are giving them a chance to do more propaganda domestically. You are giving them an opportunity to reposition things and maybe frustrate our intel collection efforts for future targeting. All of that is not positive, but as you say, we're refitting. We're giving our folks a break. The pilots get to sleep through the night instead of, racing back and forth with their aircraft. But, we really need to end this. The Iranian people are suffering, and the American consumer and Western consumers are suffering because of the price of gas and oil. And we need to move. So I'm not ready to say, dump Trump, this is ridiculous, because nobody else is going to do it as effectively as he has already done. And I think he's the only one who could really bring this to a conclusion successfully, because the Dems aren't going to do it. They'll go hand all the money back to the Iranians and say, well, gee, we're really sorry we did all this mean stuff to you. And that's not what needs to happen. We need to drive this regime out of office and out of the country to free the 85 to 90 million Iranians that really want these guys to go.
Well, and you said you didn't think this was going to be resolved diplomatically. Earlier this week, I was likening it to litigation. You know, if you're fighting over money and someone offers you $10,000 and you're at 100, you know, you can there's a middle ground to be had here, but it seems like we haven't moved since the beginning. Our red line is no nukes, and their red line is we want nuclear capability. And it just, like, I think I'm with you in that, like, there's not really a middle ground to, quote unquote, resolve this.
Yeah, the no nukes for us, it just can't move. It would be suicidally stupid to allow the Iranians to continue with their project, or even if they promised they would do it at a lesser level or they would stay within certain parameters. If these guys are still in office, we know they're not going to follow that. They're going to say, sure, we'll sign the paper, give us our funds back, give us a chance to rebuild everything. And they're going to keep doing things in the shadows. We'd like to think we could always see that, but we realized we couldn't. There are some things that they were doing we didn't know. And the Iranians are just, they're not good faith negotiators. They think they could hoodwink anybody because they have over and over again in the past. And President Trump, it's time to show them, no, you can't do it. And this is the cost for your inability to shift. But he's trying hard to do it with diplomacy. I guess that Nobel Peace Prize thing really gets to him. I don't know why he's that worried about it. But I think the prize would be eliminating this government and freeing up the 85 to 90 million Iranians that would dearly love to be free.
That's Stephen Bucci, who served America in special forces, both on the ground and in the Pentagon for decades. And he joins us now. He's with Heritage Foundation's Trulock Center for Leadership Development. Joins us on Wake Up Missouri.
Colonel, can you give us an overview on the Trump trip to China and also the announcement of NVIDIA going to supply some very high-tech semiconductor chips to the Chinese?
I thought the trip went very well. Everybody who was prophesying that, Trump was going to collapse in a heap in front of Xi and give him everything he wanted and show that China really is the dominant nation state in the world today, found out, no, none of that was true, not even vaguely. The Chinese gave up more than we gave up. They did not throw a bone to Russia. They did not really throw a bone to Iran. They didn't jump in and say, okay, America, we'll do whatever you want. But that it was a lot closer to that than the other stuff that people have been talking about. So overall, I thought the trip went very well. And I think there's a lot of potential to improve that relationship. And I think that's what the NVIDIA deal is part of it. I don't think they're giving them anything that is that much more than they didn't already have. It's probably better quality. But remember, we get to have some insight into exactly what they're getting because NVIDIA works with us pretty regularly. I'm not saying we're going to do something like the Israelis did with the pagers and the telephones to Hezbollah, but at the very least, we will have a lot more transparency of the capabilities of whatever the Chinese get than we might have gotten before.
That's Stephen Bucci. You can follow him. It's an excellent Twitter feed on X at @sbucci. I want to pivot a little bit to Ukraine and Russia because, Steve, I think a lot of us thought that, man, this is just a matter of time. It's a war of attrition, and Ukraine probably is going to attrit quicker than Russia. But I'm reading on the Institute of War that Ukrainian forces appear to be regaining some tactical initiative in different sectors. I read last week about Ukraine throwing Moscow some drone attacks, I believe, or missiles. They're holding their own. Where are we in Ukraine?
The Russian myth of invincibility, which most of us realized early on was complete nonsense because they couldn't even resupply convoys with tires that were only 35 miles from their own border. Logistics is a big bellwether for military capability. It's not just the bullet launchers. It's the ability to sustain that capability over time, and the Russians don't seem to have it. And the Russian military is still just a very large, unprofessional conscript army. And even though the Ukrainians had much less capability going into it, clearly fewer people, they got a lot more heart. And they have brought the Russians to a standstill. And as you say, in certain areas on a tactical level, they're pushing them back and gaining some ground. And I think we're seeing we're definitely over the top and looking at a potential for a positive resolution of that conflict in the future. Now, when that actually occurs, I don't know. I'd rather see it sooner than later, clearly. But, the Ukrainians, again, are punching way over their weight, are doing more than any of us anticipated. And when you start to succeed, more people decide to help. And I think that's where we're going with this. So positive developments there all around.
Steve, we're just ahead of Memorial Day here, and I know you have served undoubtedly with people who perished in battle, and certainly were close to them in other ways at leadership levels. Any thoughts ahead of Memorial Day as a seasoned veteran of the military?
Memorial Day, I just remind everybody, is not co-equal with Veterans Day, right? Veterans Day, we thank everybody that's ever served, all that. When you talk to live veterans on Memorial Day, it has a very different meaning. Right. We do celebrate the memory of those we've lost, but it's kind of a bittersweet sort of holiday because we're really remembering people who have given the as Lincoln said, the last full measure of devotion to the country. They're the ones who have died serving and defending this country. So it's important. Keep it solemn. Keep it focused on that. You don't have to go around in black, but just as you're enjoying the day, remember that people sacrificed everything to give us the ability to have that celebration.
I know every Memorial Day on the weekend, I have flashes in my mind, having never served, but I think of the movies I've seen, and you see people perishing, and it happens in real life, and it has happened in real life. And so it is a solemn and sometimes somber visage that goes through our minds. Thanks for those thoughts, Steve, and thanks for all your keen analysis. Look forward to the next convo.
Sounds good. Take care, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you. Morning Bell coming up in a few.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Markets open in a bit. What is it looking like, Stephanie?
Today would be a good day to check your stock portfolios. The NASDAQ was up 1.54%, the Dow up 1.31%, the S&P up 1.08%. Energy was down big while we saw big gains in technology and consumer discretionary. As we look at the futures this morning, looks like we might get a little bit of a correction. Everything is in the red. Now, yesterday, we're going to talk a little bit about late night TV and Colbert. Today's the last day. But yesterday, NVIDIA once again crushed its earnings expectations, but Wall Street was basically unimpressed. It brought in $81.62 billion for the quarter, beating expectations of about $79 billion. And CEO Jensen Huang said demand has gone parabolic and declared that agentic AI has arrived. Yet the stocks still dipped in after-hours trading. It's weird because companies are beating expectations, but they're almost now expected to beat expectations. So the markets aren't reacting quite like we would expect. Also, yesterday the markets had a strong day after oil prices dropped and investors were positive about Trump saying that the U.S. may be nearing a deal with Iran. Target posted better sales growth and raised its annual forecast, so that is good on the retail front. But what everyone's talking about today is Stephen Colbert is signing off tonight. Is everyone talking about it? I mean, I think it's a big deal, but ultimately people weren't watching anyway. He is ending an 11-year run as host of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and certainly he has been the subject of quite a bit of controversy. Late night, I think the bigger question is late night TV dead? CBS says the move was purely financial, which is, do you believe that, Randy?
Good riddance, Stephen Colbert. And all of those Jimmy Kimmel and others who just insist on making this a one-sided political statement. It didn't used to be that way. It was entertainment.
That's right. And traditional late night TV has been bleeding viewers for years, especially since the time of Trump, because David Letterman, it was all about like celebrity and culture and so much more. And now it's just TDS.
And I think Johnny Carson, he made jokes about both sides of the aisle, right? I mean, it was all sort of equal opportunity sniping from a comedian standpoint. I don't think anyone has a problem with that. But when you're unilaterally attacking one side, that gets old.
It does. And this cancellation reportedly came after Paramount settled a lawsuit with Trump over the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview, which Stephen Colbert blasted as a big fat bribe. I think people are tired of this even if you think of like other, like the Gutfeld show, they kind of got like a round table and they're funny. Like it's so much comedy, even though there's politics mixed in. And I think people just are tired of it. So good riddance. Bye, Felicia.
Gutfeld seems to have the secret sauce, right? Because he just makes so pithily piercing comments. They're funny as all get out.
And all the sexual innuendo. He's the king of that.
Oh, man. He takes no hostages, that's for sure. We're glad you're with us on Wake Up Missouri. Stay with us on Facebook, YouTube, and the text line 573-874-9390. More coming up.
Why would I drive 10 minutes to pick up dinner when I could simply remain seated, have it delivered slightly cold, 40 minutes late, and also for like $52 more?
So that's a TikToker saying snarkily, or well, with her tongue in her cheek, yeah, why would I do that? Pay $52 more, have it late and it's cold when I could just drive 10 minutes to pick up dinner. We were talking earlier about how the stats are saying that the younger the generation, the more likely they are to have food delivered, eat out, and less likely to prepare food at home. And it follows. I mean, that's more true of Gen Z than it is of millennials, than it is of X, than it is of boomers. And the most frugal are the interwar generations. Crazy, right?
It's ignited a huge debate online. And, I'm kind of in that. And, people are saying these Gen Zers are the same people who are like, we must have $15 minimum wage because I want to spend $30 on my lunch every day and, pay these really high prices for delivery. But at the same time, there is some pushback. And folks are saying crazy to see boomers and Xers, this is somebody on Twitter, to defend an economy that they would certainly have been homeless and destitute in had they had to live in. And we've gotten some pushback on the text line saying, hey, things are harder now than they were. So, don't be hating on Gen Z for them complaining that they can't buy a house or whatever. And I think,
look, I mean, that
it's
doesn't
about priorities.
It doesn't make common sense if you're struggling. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. If you're struggling, why would you get the $6 mocha latte with organic coconut juice or whatever for $6 when you can make yourself a cup of coffee at home? I don't care whatever people want to do, but it seems counterintuitive to be doing that and then claiming that things are so expensive. I don't know. It's weird.
Both can be true, Randy. I mean, people can be stupid with their money and still not be able to afford most places of living. I mean, rent has not proportionally been the same as average wages. I mean, it has been skyrocketing in the last 20 years.
And that's what I was saying. If you don't have enough it's just totally out of reality to ever think of, if that's where you've resigned yourself to. I'm never going to have a house. It's like, forget about the big ticket items. I'm always going to be driving a clunker car, burning oil, going down the street. Okay, I might as well enjoy my day-to-day life and buy coffee and have things delivered. It's an interesting psychology. John?
Tend to agree with, and you got to remember that you're talking Gen Z, you're talking young people.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot more impulse control issues and things like that, which, we all went through.
They want instant gratification, but it also says something about just your decision-making prioritization capabilities. And I had this rule kind of when we were house shopping. And you go into houses and they'd have, things that needed to be repaired or whatever. And then they'd have like a fancy hot tub in the back, or whatever. And I'm like, this demonstrates poor decision-making. And that is a outward sign of it, but I don't want to buy this house and learn what else they didn't take care of, what else they didn't properly prioritize. So if I saw that, I was like instantly no, because I don't want to have to deal with all of the things that I can't see. And I think as now I'm saying older people in the workplace, we all see these people, right? You're making probably, and I think the benchmark that we heard from Kevin O'Leary, you're making $70,000 or less, and you're spending, $20, $30, $40 a day door dashing your lunch. It tells me something about your ability to make good decisions.
And there's the whole entitlement angle. I think as a late boomer raising kids, I used to always bristle when our cohort parenting people would say, I want to give my kids more than I had. And I thought back, unless maybe I have, some faded memory, but I never heard my mom or dad saying, we want to give you more. Their message to me was, we want to teach you how to earn more and to do a better job than we did, which was, by the way, by hard work. This whole notion of giving your kids something became very popular in the 80s and 90s. It's like, man, just showering kids. That's when the whole blue ribbon just for participation thing, the trophy generation, came out. I'm not sure that was a good thing for kids, because it led to for some, a feeling of entitlement. It's like, as soon as I graduate, you mentioned, as soon as I graduate, I deserve a nice job, making $100K, and That's just not the way the world worked.
No, and I remember seeing, like, being in law school and thinking, oh my gosh, if I, because I had always worked an hourly job, maybe a little bit over minimum wage occasionally, which, I remember I thought I was hot stuff making $12 an hour working at the Dillards, and I would see those starting, lawyer salaries, and I thought I was going to be Scrooge McDuck. I was like, I'm going to fill my bathtub full of dollar bills and be swimming in it, and the minute I put pen to paper and put, my mortgage payment, my insurance, all of the stuff in an Excel spreadsheet, I thought, I don't have any money left over. And so the fact that I don't know that they're doing the work to see, like, okay, if I do this now, right? And back then my monthly lunch budget was $30 a month. If I do this now, it will help me get the lifestyle I want later. But what you were talking about, Randy, that sacrifice early on, having to pack my lunch every day, having to say no to a lot of things I wanted, that makes me appreciate the things that I'm able to do now.
I'm thankful my kids are, we tried to make sure that, like, I tell the old joke about they wanted to, somehow Old Navy jeans from the mall were better than the Old Navy jeans from TJ Maxx. No. And so, we tried to make, and now, like, when we did our office, my daughter and her husband and me and Helene, we basically did all the interior work, and we painted, and we did the put in the things. We did what we could, and the stuff we couldn't do, the electrician had to do the code stuff. But we tried to be a little frugal just because that's our way of life. Not sure that, I think the boomers didn't do a lot of their kids the best favor by not instilling that kind of thing into them.
Yeah, the grandmas were reminding me that they helped us paint our entire first home.
Yeah.
We had about a month where we didn't have to live there. And I remember my mother-in-law said, we're going to paint the insides of the closet. She was recounting the story this weekend. And I said, are you kidding? She goes, do it now.
Yeah, right.
But they were like, oh, we're so glad we don't have to do that anymore. But I mean, yeah, sweat it out. There was a lot of sweat equity in that first home.
Let's talk to Chris on line 1. How you doing, Chris? Welcome into Wake Up Missouri.
I'm thinking, is this the Dave Ramsey show? Kind of sounds like that.
I've been through that program. It's helpful.
Well, more people need to. Yeah, me and my brother talk about this all the time. The people that go out and spend like 25% of their pay every day stopping at the convenience store on the way to work, buying a bunch of crap, and drinking Red Bulls all day and having a $20 lunch, and they're making, a little over minimum wage, and you're like, you're spending it all right here, and they can't seem to figure it out. And you kind of hit on it, Randy. They just got an attitude of, well, I'm never going to be a millionaire, so I'm just going to, enjoy life and smoke a lot of cigarettes.
Well, maybe we have to respect the fact, though, that there is an increasing divergence between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, the left talks about that a lot.
It's always been this way.
Yeah, but I think it's truer now. And the problem is, here's the sinister thing. People who otherwise would be relatively conservative in terms of their concept of government involvement in our life eventually start beating that drum. All I can afford is a Red Bull and the DoorDash, and by God, that's what I'm going to do. And then a politician like Bernie or AOC comes in, or Mom Donnie, and says, hey, you're not getting enough of the pie. You built that, and you're not getting enough of it. Vote for me. That's where they go south, because they don't think it through historically and ideologically. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
And that there are trade-offs, and that's what the debate on Twitter is look, if you are going to go out and spend $30 every day in lunch, you're likely not going to be able to afford a home anytime soon. And I think that's where they want to have it all, right? And I think teaching folks, like, you can if $30 in a nice lunch every day is your priority, that's fine. But there are going to be other trade-offs. You are not going to be able to afford everything else. And and I think more people need to learn that. We had that growing up. I mean, we lived a nice life. We ate a lot of Hamburger Helper, a lot of Tuna Helper, all of those things. My parents, they wanted to get a lake house, but they said, hey, look, here's the trade-off.
Right.
If we get that lake house, there aren't any vacations. That is the vacation. You don't get both.
Yeah.
And I think more kids need to learn that lesson.
For those of you who might be familiar with the real estate market in Columbia, Jefferson City, Springfield, there's a question that interests me about this home affordability thing. We talk about the median price of a home being outrageous, $300,000, whatever it is, That's median. Can you buy a bungalow?
No.
For $125,000?
No.
Can you buy I'm talking old 1950s Can you buy what can you buy a bungalow for?
$250 in Jefferson City if you're lucky. I'm not lying.
There's just not product on the market either.
It's been in my bucket list to get like a rental property. My husband is in the rental property business, and I would love an investment property and to have a rental property. So I am in the market. You know, when I was used to be able, my first house was $160,000. It was big for a rental property. I have a Zillow search. They show up. They are astronomical. And I think that's what some of our texters were saying.
So it's hard to get in at the ground floor.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to be relatively, I mean, it was a stretch. But if you wanted to, you could get into something. And then because almost without exception, home values increase. And so that something is a stair step to a bigger something and a better something and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I'm looking at a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in Jefferson City for sale for $184,000.
Well, but that's 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. If you're a man and a woman, 25 years old, just out of college, you just got married, you both have $70,000 jobs. Can't you buy a home for $125,000 with a bedroom or 2 and just a starter home just to get going?
Not
Good
really.
luck finding one.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, I mean, like when I was in the position of buying my first house, because you also, I mean, you want to lock in for a while. You don't want to be moving all the time, and so we didn't need we had 3 bedrooms. We didn't need it when we moved in, but we knew within 5 years we wanted to start a family. So it's like you don't want to have to be going through all of those costs when suddenly you have a kid. So no, these
but presumably
houses,
the market increases, and if you may not want to, but it may be the way to do it. I don't know.
Jefferson City, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,600 square feet. I want you to guess the price.
Where is it?
Jefferson City.
Location. Where in Jefferson City?
In a good neighborhood.
Well, maybe you can't afford a good neighborhood right away.
A decent neighborhood.
I don't know. About $200,000.
$249,000.
Wow.
2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Well, Jefferson City, that's the heart of government. Usually you pay more when you're in a government-run city.
I will spare you from pulling up the prices
What's
in Ashland because they're worse.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
How about in the
so
suburbs,
high.
the exurbs? How about,
Here you go. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,600 square feet in Ashland. Do you want to guess?
Oh.
$350,000. It's tough right now, but you're not going to get there if you're buying a $30 lunch is the point.
True. Yeah, it becomes out of reach.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back with some leftovers and I got to talk about this story because it's so weird, bizarre. Another TikToker, and you won't believe what her father does and what they plotted to do. Stay tuned.
It's
So I don't know if you heard about it. We were talking about the social media and influencers, and, we talk about that frequently. And, is it net a good thing, a bad thing? A lot of younger people are taking a little holiday from that, turning in their smartphones for flip phones. Did you see this story of an influencer who has, 500,000 TikTok followers, 24-year-old Gabriela Gonzalez, charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation of murder. Here's the story. She has a current boyfriend. She has a custody dispute with
baby
her
daddy,
ex-boyfriend, the baby daddy, who is a boy band guy. Okay. So her current boyfriend and her now I guess it's her ex-boyfriend now, but anyway, another boyfriend and her dad were going to hire someone, a murder for hire thing, to kill the baby daddy of her 7-year-old. Now, here's where talk about short circuit neurons, short circuit. Gabriela Gonzalez, the murder for hire suspect or accused, her father is a personal injury attorney from Florida, paid $10,000, advanced her $10,000, or the ex-boyfriend, to go find someone to kill the baby daddy, who's a boy band star. Now,
here we go. All lawyers are bad.
No. But Stephanie, I mean, think about it. What would possess an attorney to do that? I mean, the psychology of it is just baffles the mind.
The best explanation I've ever heard of this is from another attorney who said they'd much rather represent criminals and do criminal law than do family law, because they said the people who were accused in criminal cases were on their best behavior, and the people that were in the midst of family law disputes were on their worst behavior.
I see.
And I think when it comes to your family, people, it makes people crazy. It just does.
It's like the most irrational behavior.
Yes.
Well, you see that.
And I don't practice either of those, but I was talking to somebody who does that a lot, and that was what they told me, and I said, actually, that makes sense.
Well, I guess that's right. It saddens you when you think about, maybe a wedding you attended, or, someone or family. You think about the wedding scene and everyone's smiling and all the pictures and the gala and the wedding moment and kiss the bride. And then the knockdown, drag-out divorce.
I don't see you as a really murderous person, but I could see you, if someone did something to one of your daughters, I could see you saying, you know what, you got to go.
Well, if they physically harmed her, that would be true.
Well,
but not just for a custody battle.
Baby mama, baby drama. I mean, come on. This is crazy. I don't know. I feel 7-year-old baby daddy. I mean, I feel like you have 7 years to figure out.
Yeah,
maybe take care of the baby daddy before then.
It was doctors. Remember that case that we just had with the 2 kids in the house, and the doctor dad came over, and wife had the new boyfriend, and he shot both of them in the house.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right. It was up in Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was weren't they all doctors?
He was a surgeon, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I just don't. Man, it's
doctors
enough.
are bad too.
No, it's not about lawyer. This wasn't about lawyer, but I mean,
it is about.
But you'd think an attorney would know that you're not going to get away with that. I mean,
apparently the quote unquote hitman they tried to hire was an undercover FBI agent, right? So
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's in the article.
Lord.
So,
that was a mistake, right? All right. So
if you're on what is that? What's the Craigslist looking for a hitman? Just know
the baby daddy,
an FBI agent.
The baby daddy was a member of the group. Why don't we? Oh, isn't that poignant?
Very good.
All right, tomorrow's a Feel Good Friday. Hope you'll join us then. Tell us about your Memorial Day plans and if you're reeling things in or not. We'll talk about that and more. We'll talk with Bob Onder tomorrow as well on Wake Up Missouri.
Bye.